Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Madhava Javya You didn't ask me. Oh, I did. I just clicked right. Yeah, yeah. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Shodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Shodanandana Yamunadira Vanachari Yamuna Iravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Shri Radhe Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Radha Shri Radhe Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, and welcome to this morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. So I just want to adjust the height of this laptop. So just give me a few seconds. So we're reading from 6 to 18. Let's share my screen. Share. Okay, there we go. Agyanada Tavagyanat Uttama Shloka Namayat Sanskirtitam Agam Pungso Rahed Edho Yatanalaha Agyanada Tavagyanat Uttama Shloka Namayat Sankirtitam Agam Pungso Tahed Edho Yatanalaha. Would anyone like to try?
I'll read it, Prabhu.
Yeah, thank you.
Agyanad Attava Gyanad Uttama Shloka Namayata Sankirtanam Agham Pungso Tahad Edho Yatanalaha.
Thank you, Prabhu. Anyone else?
Agyanad Atava Gyanad Uttama Shrokana Mayat Sankirtanam Agam Pusho Daher Edho Yatan Nalaha.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Any others? Okay. Agyanat, out of ignorance. Atava or Gyanat, with knowledge. Uttama Shloka, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nama, the holy name. Yet, that which. Sankirtam, chanted. Lagam, sin. Pungsaha, of a person. Tahit, burns to ashes. Edaha, dry grass. Yata, just as. Analaha, fire. Translation. As a fire burns dry grass to ashes, so the holy name of the Lord, whether chanted knowingly or unknowingly, burns to ashes without fail. All the reactions of one's sinful activities. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Fire will act regardless of whether handled by an innocent child or by someone well aware of its power. For example, if a field of straw or dry grass is set afire, either by an elderly man who knows the power of fire or by a child who does not, the grass will be burned to ashes. Similarly, one may or may not know the power of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, but if one chants the holy name, he will become free from all sinful reactions. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gnanjana Shlakaya Chakshu Unmilitangena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Paraya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Shumate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharne Narishesha Srinavadi Paschatyadesh Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gauravata Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Agyana Dattavagyana Duttama Shloka Namayat Sankirtita Magham Pungso Dahit Idho Yatana Laha. As a fire burns dry grass to ashes, so the holy name of the Lord, whether chanted knowingly or unknowingly, burns to ashes without fail all the reactions of one's sinful activities. So this is the Vishnu Dutas dropping the mic on the Yamadutas. So the whole case of the Yamadutas was that Jamil has not performed the Prayaschita ceremony. He has not purified himself sufficiently, and therefore we have jurisdiction over him. However, the Vishnu Dutas are saying here that actually you do not know uh, uh, the real fact. The real fact is that a Jamil has been completely purified. Why is that? It's because he chanted in complete anxiety, in complete fear. And so, even though when he was chanting, he was actually calling out to his young son, Narayan, but the Lord in Vaikuntha, situated in his kingdom, heard this cry. And in previous verse, as we read last week, is that when the Lord hears a devotee chant his holy name in complete anxiety, the Lord thinks to himself that, yes, it is my duty to give full protection. So the Lord, one characteristic of the Lord is that it's described in Nectar of Devotion by Rupa Goswami in the 64 qualities of the Supreme Lord. One quality is that he is steady. So he's characteristic, he's consistent, he's steady, he's reliable. And so he always, even if, yes, this may be a delinquent child who's been transgressing his laws, as a Jamil was doing in the material world for so many lifetimes. But as soon as you chant in complete anxiety, the Lord's characteristic of a father manifests. It's steady. And so therefore he's always thinking when he hears his child crying out in complete anxiety. The father doesn't think whether this son has had a good streak, he's been doing nicely. He's not thinking this way. He's thinking, oh, my child is in complete anxiety, regardless of the status of the child, whether they're intellectually developed or underdeveloped, whether they are wealthy or poor, they've utilized the father's resources nicely. No, he's not thinking, he doesn't actually put a qualification in helping the Lord. In other words, it's unconditional. So this is the nature of Sri Krishna. When he actually hears a devotee chant, actually any part and parcel of him, in complete anxiety, this is the feeling that's actually evoked in him. So we can take heart to this. We should always know that no matter how things get bad, no matter how bad things may get in our journey of trying to get purified, we may get deviated, things may not be going well for us. We actually know, yeah, we have a very dear friend, and we should know that the Supreme Father will always deliver us. So here, the Vishnu Dutas are also saying about the characteristics of the holy name is that as fire burns dry grass to ashes, so the holy name, whether chanted knowingly or unknowingly, burns to ashes without fail all the reactions of one's sinful activities. One reason for this is that, as Lord Chaitanya says in the Shikshastakam, Nam Nagari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis. Nija Sarva Shaktis. So the Lord has invested all of his energies into his holy name. And therefore the holy name is not different from the Lord himself. And so when you're chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, you should know that the Lord is right there. You're actually associating with the Supreme Lord. He's right there. And so if you, just as the sun, when the sun is out, it's a nice sunny day, whatever wet spot there is will be completely dried up because the sun is out. If it's covered by cloud or if it's nighttime, then that wet spot won't be dried up. So by chanting the holy name, immediately the Krishna Surya, Krishna's sun, is right there. And so any wet spot, wet by sinful activities, meat eating, intoxication, gambling, all these activities that a Jamil was engaged in, they're actually completely dried up, and purified. Rupa Goswami in the Nectar of Devotion, he describes there's different stages of manifestation of sinful activities. There's the beej, the seed, there's the germination, so when the shell of the seed cracks open, and then there's the fructification, so it grows and then it produces a fruit. So the power of the holy name, it actually purifies all the reactions of one's sinful activities because it goes right to the beej, the seed. It fries it up. So the fire of devotional service being compared to fire is a very apt analogy. So just as if you take any seed, you can go to today, you can go to Farmer Dasya and ask him, does he have any spare vegetables? And then you can take the seeds, maybe from the zucchini he's growing. You can take the seeds and you can fry them. So if you fry the seeds, and then you can do an experiment. So fried seeds, and then you plant them, and then you have a batch of unfried seeds, and then you plant them. You'll see the ones that are that are fried, they don't germinate. So this is one of the principal, one of the characteristics of the holy name is that it actually fries the seed of all designations. Sarvo padi vinirmuktam tatparatvena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhakti uchate. So when one engages in the devotional service of the Lord, one of the effects of engaging in devotional service is that all the designations are removed. All the material designations, they are actually fried. So you can still consider yourself, outwardly, you can still appear to everybody else that you're a male or a female, you are politically designated as black or white, you may be from India, from China, you may be, yes, a mother, a student, or a senior citizen. So all these designations are there and they're associated with the body. But for the embodied soul that's engaged in devotional service, those designations actually don't manifest reactions. So each designation, so you can think of any designation as like a seedling form. It's an idea, it's a conception. So it's seated right there in the subtle body. And that seed produces desires. So when you think, if you can be thinking, okay, I'm an artist. And so your outlook in life, what gives you reward, so you act wanting to actually produce art. So if you're asked to cook, uh, what gives you the reward of that activity is that the presentation matters. And then for somebody who is considering themselves to be a producer, so they're thinking, okay, I just want to produce a lot. So for them, it's about volume. So they want to like cook big, not so much, they won't put so much of energy into the final presentation. It should look decent, but it's all about like the volume, cooking large quantities for thousands of people at a time. Right. So the the end result, uh, the activity is precipitated by the seed. So it's the seed of the conception of who you actually think you are. So you can take all the devotees here on the farm. There's so much of service on the farm. Each one, you give them, okay, cook for Radha Damodar. Okay, milk Radha Damodar's cows. Um, do some garden work in Radha Damodar. So because each one has different seeds in their subtle body, they're doing their service in a very particular way, according to this seed. Now, with devotees, now the wonderful thing in devotional service is that even though the manifestation of the service is coming out differently, it is not actually producing material reactions. It's actually akarma. So this is the wonderful thing in devotional service, is that all these designations can actually be used in the Lord's service. Nirbande, Krishna Sambande, Yukta Vairagyam Uchate. So following the direction of bona fide guide, the spiritual master, uh, Prabhupada, then you get guidance on how to perform this very lofty principle of Yukta Vairagya. So Yukta Vairagya is actually it's a very difficult thing to do. Using all of Krishna's energies in his service. So practically speaking, it appears to be easy for us because we're under the shelter of ISKCON, which is not different from Prabhupada's body, as he describes in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the description of the Chaitanya tree. So the shelter of Prabhupada makes it quite straightforward. But if you if you just read descriptions of the absolute truth, you get attracted to the absolute truth, you begin to inquire, and then you might even come across the Bhagavad Gita as it is. Actually, say you come across a Bhagavad Gita, not as it is, but just any other version. Just on your own strength, to actually begin Yukta Vairagya, it's very difficult. It's not an easy thing. Why? Because of the mind. The mind will say, no, we have to do it like this, we should do it like that. And so Yukta Vairagya is akarma. It's a karmic activity. There's no reaction. So there's karma, right? Material activities with a reaction. Then there's vikarma, forbidden activities that lead one to the hellish planets. And then there's akarma, which is devotional service. No reaction. So you're not actually creating new seeds in the subtle body, which then become a template for your next body. The actual fire that you're generating from waking up, worshipping, coming to Mangala Arati, chanting the holy name, just being busy, you're generating fire. And so that fire that you're generating with the senses, it's actually frying. the seeds in the subtle body. So so with devotional service is that the seed never of any material designation that you may have, it never germinates into a material reaction. Now, Lord Kapiladev explains that devotional service can get mixed with the lower modes. And so you have devotional service that's mixed with passion, mixed with ignorance, and um, that can happen. And so, yes, so as devotees, based on that, you can have some material reactions that are associated with your devotional service. In Lord Chaitanya, he describes this that when you're watering the devotional keeper, you should be a careful gardener and see that you're also weeding at the same time. So if you're not weeding, then the weeds can grow and they can overcome the actual tender bhakti lata beach. So at every step of performing devotional service, you have minute independence. So you can choose, okay, am I going to use this facility for Krishna, or am I going to use it for my own sense gratification, where the mixture of passion and ignorance is happening. So I think it was, I forget the devotee's name. He's from ISKCON Resolve. He was here for the GBC leadership conference. He gave a very nice Bhagavatam class about taking shelter of the Lord and exercising surrender. So when things get tough in a devotee's life, you have a choice whether to surrender to the Lord or whether to take shelter of something that gives you material relief. So for example, you can go on YouTube, and YouTube there's more of people dumping their minds on YouTube than there are devotees actually putting out uplifting content. So the tendency, it's just like any other, public square, public space, where there's more materialists than there are devotees of the Lord. So you have a choice. So you can watch something uplifting, put on a kirtan, watch a lecture, or you can look at all the other recommendations because they create like a rabbit hole for you. It's called a rabbit hole design. And you can just, get your relief from there. So you may be feeling, oh, it's been so difficult to swim in this flood of devotional service that is gushing here at Gita Nagari. So I just want to watch some YouTube. So either you can, as we said, you can put on some Krishna conscious content, or you can put on some mainstream content which is not uplifting. So you always have a choice at every step. And so Krishna, he is not really looking for the external appearance of the offering, but the bhakti. And so that conception, that idea is also applicable to how you get relief from devotional service. So you can either choose to think to yourself, okay, what is my next service? So if my next service is to rest because I've been working, for a long time, so how do I rest in devotional service? Well, are you going to kick it back with Chaitanya Charitamrita, or just, shoot the breeze with the devotee? Or do something that you've always been wanting to do, like learn an art, play mridanga, or even, just trying to get into, maybe decorating some of the preliminary activities to deity worship. like decorating and things like that. So that choice is always there for you. So with devotional service, that's characterized by um, passion and ignorance. There is a separatist mentality that whatever your body and mind need, you seek it outside. You utilize the energy that's really meant to be engaged in the Lord's service. You utilize it for your own personal sense gratification. So, in other words, so instead of serving the senses of Rishikesh, the master of the senses, you serve yourself. So your own senses, Rishik. So the trick here is that Sarvapadi Vinirmuktam. So purification of all designations happens when there's Rishikena, Rishikesha. So engaging one's senses in the master of the senses. So King Kulashekar is very famous for, I think it's Ambarish Maharaj, about how he uses all of these senses in the Lord's service. So this example is cited in the Bhagavad Gita, using your legs to walk to the temple. He uses his eyes to see the deities, uses his nose to smell the flower. He uses his ears to hear uh, glories of Uttama Shloka, the Supreme Lord who is glorified by the highest and most poetic verses. He uses his tongue to chant the holy name of the Lord, to speak Krishna Katha, and to also taste his prasadam. So all the senses, whatever state of being you are, they always directed towards Rishikesha. Now, when looking at this verse, one could say, well, okay, if the holy name, whether chanted knowingly or unknowingly, burns to ashes, you could actually have a karma mimamsa attitude towards the holy name. So karma mimamsa is a conception of the absolute truth that you will get the result of whatever activity you perform. So it's not a question of developing a relationship with the absolute truth, but it's just a question of doing your duty, what you're supposed to do. So this is explained by Krishna to his father prior to the Govardhan Puja. And he tells his father that he's questioning him, like, why every year do we have to worship Indra? And his father basically says, uh, it's a matter of primary reasons that Indra is giving us the rain, and we are agriculturalists. This is our means of livelihood and subsistence, and so we have a debt to the rain, to Indra, the control of the rainfall. And Krishna, he says that no, but we can see the rainfall is falling on the ocean. It falls on neighboring parts of our village. So it's not falling only in Vrindavan, but it's also falling in places where the ceremony, this yagya, isn't performed. How is that? And the reason is that the rainfall will fall regardless. Uh, so we simply have to do our duties. That's all. So this is the reason he gives for not performing the Indra Yagya. And then he gives a positive reason for why all those Bhoga items and resources for that Yagya should be directed to Govardhan Yagya, worship of Govardhan Hill. And he makes the case that we get more benefit from Govardhan as cowherd men and ladies, as a cowherding village, than we do from the rainfall. That is seemingly agnostic. It just falls everywhere. So one could actually have that attitude towards the holy name that, well, I heard that the Vishnu Dutas, they said that, well, if one chants knowingly or unknowingly, my reactions my sinful reactions will be burned. And so why do I need to actually form a personal relationship with the Lord? Uh, I can just chant and that's it. I've got a full coverage insurance policy where I don't have to go to hell in the next life, and I can just continue. So, okay, who knows the answer to this? Why is the karma mimamsa mentality? Why won't it work when when applied to the holy name? Any takers? Yes, Tarka
Uh,
Prabhu.
yeah, it's a question of offense. There
Mm,
is, it is not offenseless chanting.
yes, that is correct. So the holy name is, so Tarka Prabhu said, it's a question of offense. So you get the result of chanting. In other words, this purification from all reactions of sinful activities. You get it when there's offenseless chanting. And there's offenseless chanting when you consider, it's an offense to consider the holy name material. So the karma mimamsa philosophy is material. It's not. It's a conception of the absolute truth that is is is. It's hinged on that the absolute truth is just a machine. It's just a karmic machine. The universe is just material. It's a machine, and so you just do X and you get Y. Um, Whereas the holy name, as we said, Nija Sarva Shakti. So the Lord has actually invested all his energies in there. And so it's the Supreme Lord himself. He's a person. And so when all the reactions of your sin get burned, they're being burned by a person. They're being burned by the Supreme Lord. So the Lord's presence acts like the sun, as we cited. And so when the Lord comes, just as the sun purifies all the wet spots, it dries up everything that where its rays is cast, where there's no shadow, where that is not shielded from the sun's rays. Similarly, with the Lord, when you are chanting in complete anxiety, the Lord is right there. And so you get immediately purified because the presence of the Lord is palpable and it takes effect because you're opening yourself to this. Now, the subtlety here is that, okay, with the Jamil, he was referring to his son. Why is it that he got the result? He chanted in completing, it was because of the Lord's reaction. So the Lord felt, yes, this is my duty. I actually have to purify a Jamil. So it's not quite karma mimamsa, um, but it's that the feeling. The subtlety here is that the feeling of complete anxiety, it actually attracts the attention of the Lord. And yes, and then you get completely purified. So yeah, so we can see how powerful the chanting in complete anxiety is that even though it appears like it's a bit like karma mimamsa, but it's not quite because karma mimamsa, the attitude of the worshipper is it's one of complete impersonalism. Whereas here, feeling of anxiety is saying, "Oh, Narayan, Narayan." It's actually personal. Okay. Are there any reflections or contentions?
Haribo.
Haribo.
Okay. I'm just thinking, so yeah, maybe an argument could be posed that, and maybe you were kind of, this is one of the points you were getting at, but what if someone says that I just chant one time sincerely, and then the rest of my life I just go on doing whatever I want to do, but because I chanted that one time sincerely, then it's almost like guaranteed that I'll get liberation.
Um, so that's offense. That's a um that kind of mentality, it's an offense. So as we know, one of the seventh uh, offense to the holy name is to commit sinful activities on the strength of chanting the holy name. So with the Jamil, when he chanted, he wasn't chanting on this with that kind of conception that, okay, somehow I'll generate the sincerity, uh, and then I'll just continue with my sinful activities. I'll get protected from the Yamadutas, and the Vishnu Dutas will come save me. He wasn't thinking that. So as soon as you project into the future that, oh, well, the holy name will act that way, it won't. Yeah. Because sincerity, chanting in complete fear, it's just not possible. Like, I mean, if you are assured, if you know that you're going to get saved by something, whether, you're struggling to pay bills or, uh, yeah, like you can't be fearful. So fear, that feeling of fear gets generated because in the future, you just actually don't know. You really don't know. Um, there's no assurance of something. And so that kind of conception is just not possible. Uh, to say I'm going to chant sincerely one time and then I'll continue, or like I practiced Krishna consciousness sincerely in my youth and I was hopeful of the future. Now it's too difficult. And so I'm just going to continue sinning because, yeah, I know that I performed devotional service in my youth. Sure, you can go about it that way. And then you'll get the result of a human life. So definitely the piety that you accrue from performing devotional service will manifest itself in your next lifetime. But the real result of purification of all of your reactions from your sinful activities, that you won't get, definitely not. You'll get, okay, say somebody, uh, as we said, with that conception, that they feel like they can't continue for this lifetime. Yeah, you'll get a human life in your next life, but you'll get a material body, and you'll still have to contend with the thing that caused you to be tripped up in devotional service in the first place. You'll still have to contend with that. That won't be purified. I don't know if that answers your question, Prabhu. Okay, I guess your silence is concurrence, that you concur, you agree. Okay. Any other reflections or contentions?
I would like to add a point, which is that it is not merely chanting in a state of anxiety exactly. More specifically, it's explained by the Yamadutas, excuse me, the Vishnu Dutas explained, I believe, in the 13th text of this chapter. And it's repeated by Srila Prabhupada in many places, that it is chanting in a state of helplessness, with a feeling of helplessness. That is the anxiety. So it says, because one can be in anxiety over a great many things. There's all kinds of, you can have all kinds of mundane anxieties. And typically, if you're in material consciousness, you're going to be full of anxiety all the time. And that's not necessarily a qualification for offenseless chanting, but chanting in a more specifically in a helpless state is what is described by the Vishnu Dutas as being the specific quality that made John Mule's chanting effective. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu, for that addition. Any others?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Prabhu.
Could you just share something maybe from your own life that you've found personally really inspiring for chanting and prioritizing japa in your life?
The thing that keeps coming up is making a sacred space and sacred time. So Gurudev has talked about this. If you do any japa course, if you hear Sachinandan Maharaj also speak about this, this is a common theme. So the sacred space where you're going to chant, and then the sacred time. So for me, it's stabilizing the sacred time. So there has to be a fixed time that you just start your rounds. Like you have to get them started at that specific time. And so I found that when I have a good streak going of doing that, then all problems related to occupational duties, they're just not a problem. They're surmountable. Even if I have like a hectic day up ahead. But because I got my chanted started and I said, okay, this sacred time, so from 5:15 up until 6, this is the time to get my rounds started. So even if I can't complete the full 16, but I've at least minimum, I'm doing 4 rounds within that sacred time. No matter how tired I was, no matter how late I slept, it has to just happen at this time. And so I find that commitment, making that commitment to the holy name, the Lord reciprocates. So it's like in any cultivating any relationship, whether it be conjugal or friendship, if you say you're going to be there, you're going to be reliable, or it increases the love. So whether that love is in friendship, parental, conjugal, or servitude, uh, just that consistency, it just increases the love. And you feel it. Yeah, you'll be on a good streak and then you come to Mangal Arati one day, and then you're like really tired. And then all of a sudden you just feel like a surge of energy, and you're like, oh my God, where did that come from? So, and okay, everybody else is like, like the kirtan is like slow and all of that, but you can feel like, whew, I wasn't in like earth-shattering kirtan where I was dancing vigorously, but I can feel the surge of energy, for example. So the Lord, the holy name, he reciprocates. He's right there with you every step of the way. You just simply have to chant and hear, and he's right there. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you, Prabhu. That's very inspiring.
Very well. Okay, I guess we'll end here.